He continued, "They were at home yesterday, but as I woke up this morning, I noticed their door was locked." Another neighbor said, "Brothers, you know those people are too reserved, they don't talk to us. They don't mingle with us. Just check back tomorrow. Relax, they're fine." Because he saw the anxiety in Sabina's face. Sabina's thanked them and left reluctantly. The third day, in Sabina's office, he was called by the manager. "Mr. John. Prior to this time, Sabina's has recommended Amoka to his company. Amoka finished her NYSC 3 months ago, and since then Sabina's has been trying to get a white-collar job for her." When Sabina's got to the manager's office, Mr. John said, "Sabina's, you've worked here diligently and I hope the person you are recommending will do the same." Sabina's said, "Yes, sir." Smiling. Then, the manager said, "Okay. I will give her a try. No need for interview. Let's assume her resume and everything you've told us about her is true. Tell her to resume work on Monday, 1st of June. That's next week," said the manager. That day was Wednesday. Sabina's was so happy. He bowed and thanked the manager and left to his office. In his office, he was already picturing his future with Amoka. He said, "I trust her, she will not disappoint me on this job. She's very smart. After all, I'm here to nurture her." Then he smiled and said, "Just work for 1 year, baby, and become Mrs. Sabina's Enduka." After work, he went to a supermarket. There he bought a rose flower, a beautiful card and some romantic stuffs to celebrate the new job with his fiancée. Thinking by now, her number will go through, Sabina's called Amoka again. The phone was still off. Then Sabina's decided to go to her house the second time. As he was leaving the supermarket, he saw Vivian first. Immediately Vivian sighted him. She wanted to run. Then Sabina's called him and said, "Vivian, why are you running?" Then she stopped and Sabina's walked towards him. Then Sabina's asked him, "Where is Amoka?" Vivian couldn't hold back his tears. She started crying. Now, Sabina's was already shaking. He asked, "Did anything happen to her?" Vivian said no. She asked Sabina's if he came with his car. Sabina's said no, that he was dropped by the staff boss. So Vivian told him, "Enter the car, let me take you home. We need to talk." Sabina's agreed, still dwelling in confusion. They got to Sabina's house. Then Vivian asked him if his younger brother was still living with him. He said yes. That he just got admitted into the university, that he goes to school from home. At this point, Vivian was a bit relieved. At least someone will be at home to watch over him. They knocked and Sabina's younger brother Terry opened the door and greeted them. He offered Vivian drink and water, but she said no, that she was okay. Sabina's looking straight to Vivian's eyes, patiently waiting for her to talk. Vivian went straight to the point. "Brother Sabina's, Amoka is married. He married Chief Emeka Aneo, my father's friend. Her bride price was paid 2 days ago. And as I speak to you now, she's already in Lagos with Chief." Sabina's was flabbergasted. As first, he thought he was dreaming. It's reality. Then he broke down and started crying. He was inconsolable. Vivian and Terry couldn't hold back their tears. They joined him. Vivian explained how everything happened. And Vivian told them how he begged and discouraged Amoka, but it was in vain. Terry was surprised. Then he said, "Amoka and her entire family are terrible. Amoka met a man today, the next day the bride price was paid. And they didn't see anything wrong with that." Terry asked again, "Aunt Vivian, how come the chief was able to call his family members and Amoka's family and finalize everything in just 2 days?" Vivian replied, "Amoka's family are very greedy. Have you forgotten what they did to them when their father died? They didn't ask any question before they brought their dictionary list. As for Chief Emeka's family, my father and one of my father's friends were the only ones that followed him. The worst part is that Amoka's family didn't even care. Terry hissed. Tufiokwa. Vivian apologized to Sabinas on his father's behalf because he was part of the deal. But Sabinas declined and said, it's not his fault. Amoka is not a baby and moreover, she wasn't forced. When it was getting dark, Vivian left because her house was 2 hours from Sabina's place. That night, Vivian called Amoka with her new phone number that she has informed Sabinas. She expected her to feel remorse and sad, but she wasn't. At first, Amoka was angry. Later she said, no problem. I wanted to tell him myself though. It's okay. I will call him to calculate how much he spent on me and my family. Let me pay back before somebody will tell the whole world how he helped Chief Emeka Aneo's wife. Vivian hissed and ended the call. Really, that same night, Amoka called Sabinas with her old number and the following conversation took place. Amoka called, Sabinas picked the call, thinking Amoka would tell him all Vivian said was a prank. Sabinas picked, hello Amoka, how are you? Amoka replied, hello, good evening Sabinas. I guess Vivian has told you everything already. That over Sabi girl. She hissed, she is living large and she wants me to remain poor. Bad bell, she hissed again. Anyways, she continued. Thank you for everything you did for me and my family. God bless you. And I pray, may God give you a good wife. Please, I want to pay you back because I won't like you to start broadcasting me around that you've helped me. Tell me how much you spent on me and my family. Send the total amount and your bank account to my Gmail number at amakalove@gmail.com. Anyways, you have my Gmail. Thanks. Take care. Sabinas was muted for a whole hour. He never believed Amoka could behave like that. From that moment, he decided never to talk her or any member of her family again or even collect a penny from them. Terry persuaded him to at least hear from her Amoka's mother, but he refused. Amoka and her family, even Chief Emeka Aneo, never reach out to Sabinas anyways. Back to Sabinas and Anne. Now Sabinas has realized that Amoka was even Chief Emeka Aneo's third wife and Chief Obi Aneo brother. Anne was shocked and she said, indeed such is life. Just as Chief Obi threatened, Sabinas and Amoka were sacked from work on Monday morning. Chief Obi has threatened to remove his money from their bank if they don't sack Sabinas and Anne with immediate effect, so the bank couldn't risk that. When they were still on that, Anne lost his father to the cold hands of death. It was so devastating for both of them. The burial was done shortly. Still battling with that, Mr. Obi demanded for a refund. Here, he added huge amount of money for Anne to pay, because he knew she won't be able to pay. Then he was pressuring them to pay fast, else he would deal with them. Together, they confronted Chief Obi again. Stood up to his threats. They refused to be controlled by their past any longer. With newfound strength and determination, Sabinas and Anne were able to draw a lasting solution to their problems. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were willing to face whatever challenges came their way as long as they were together. With a renewed sense of hope and love, Anne and Sabinas walked hand in hand towards a new beginning, leaving their past behind them. One day, Sabinas and Anne were going to church, then a man carelessly bashed their car. The man stopped. Then Sabinas angrily came down from his car. Unknowingly to them, they were Chief Obi's thugs. Before he could say anything, 2 men jumped out from the back seat and started beating Sabinas. Sabinas tried to retaliate, but they overpowered him. Anne screamed for help, but the vehicles passing were too scared to stop, thinking they were armed robbers, and it was early morning at about 6:10 a.m. They continued, then Sabinas collapsed. Thinking he was dead, they hurriedly drove off. Anne was already screaming. Sabinas quietly told Anne, stop shouting, I'm not dead. I pretended to faint so that they would leave me. Thank God it worked. But his body was filled with bruises. And he was bleeding from the nose too. and offered to drive him to the hospital, but Sabinas said he was driving himself. Okay, and said. And couldn't understand the direction they were heading to anymore. Then Sabinas turned to Chief Obi's route. Then and asked him, "Where are you going?" Sabinas replied, "Chief Obi's house." And was shocked. And she screamed, "So you want him to kill us finally? See what they've done to you already. Please stand back." It was too late. Sabinas was already in Chief Obi's gate. Sabinas came down from the car and started hitting the gate furiously.